It is a real privilege to be here and wonderful to see so many familiar faces, to enjoy some great Tex-Mex food and margaritas, so I'm really glad a lot of you are here early this morning, and to just be away from the Pentagon and outside the Beltway. I'd like to thank USGIF, which does a tremendous job through the year bringing together all the different facets of industry, academia, government, and professional organizations to advance the GEOINT mission and tradecraft. I'd also like to recognize Rhonda Schrenk, who has been the person behind the scenes here making this event happen. Thank you, Rhonda and team, for all that you have done to make this year's symposium a resounding success. I hear it's been a great week here at GEOINT with superb lightning talks, panel discussions, and training and education sessions. More gets accomplished here in 3 days than, frankly, we sometimes get done in 3 weeks in the Pentagon. It was great to see the new NGA director, Admiral Bob Sharp, kick off this week's events. I had an opportunity to visit with him and the NGA team a few weeks ago. NGA has an outstanding leadership team in Bob, his deputy Stacy Dixon, and new director for operations, Major General Charlie Cleveland. And I look forward to seeing them tackle the many GEOINT challenges discussed over the past few days. In my brief time this morning, I thought I'd share some of the GEOINT specific priorities dominating the thinking of Undersecretary Kernan and myself. I'll also give an update on Project Maven, which was first introduced at this symposium 2 years ago. And finally, to make a plug to all the next generation professionals in this room and participating in the Young Professionals group, that we need your talent. It is an exciting time to be in GEOINT. This symposium is a testament to that, with the breadth and depth of topics covered and the array of technical solutions on display across the expo floor. Never has the government had so many diverse options available to it for GEOINT infrastructure, data, services, and applications. Neither has the government had so much data available to it, and no longer solely within the purview of classified US collection systems. Much of this is driven by the explosion of unclassified, commercial, and publicly available information, and greater data sharing among our allies and partners, a lot of which we have yet to tap. As an avowed space geek, I'm also really excited about what's happening in space. We are on the cusp of big changes in our space architectures as we evolve from few exquisite systems to many in diverse, distributed GEOINT architectures. There are really exciting things happening on the commercial space front enabling this, including vast improvements in the ability to mass produce small satellites. I recently visited one location that aims to produce 6 to 7 satellites per day off its production line. Yes, 6 to 7 satellites per day. I come from a community where the unit of measurement is years. And with the cost of launch going down, imagine the capability and ubiquitous sensing with constellations in the dozens, hundreds, and even thousands. We are at a true inflection point. We need to tackle our big data challenge, modernize our manual, labor-intensive processes, and better posture for intelligence operations in a contested environment, if we are to deliver timely and relevant intelligence to our warfighters and decision makers. First, we must move up the data value chain, beyond raw pixels and bulk image buys, to services and applications that add value, knowledge, and insights to better assist our analysts and decision makers from identification and characterization to change detection to patterns of life. While NGA has vast GEOINT data stores, the commercial sector also has sizable commercial imagery libraries that are growing at an exponential rate, particularly as we move beyond the collection of static images every 3 to 5 days to capabilities that image a point on the globe daily or multiple times per day or near constantly. With all of this unclassified data readily available, we are seeing an influx of new thinking, spurring new companies and business areas to achieve incredible innovation. They're applying machine learning, advanced analytics, computer visualization, and offering new data products. We in government need to take advantage of the tremendous investment the private sector has made in this area. Many of the companies and universities set up on the expo floor are vastly different than what was here at GEOINT symposiums a mere 5 or 10 years ago. And I gotta tell you, I was looking through all the companies listed here, and most of them, honestly, I don't know you. I'm looking forward to meeting you, but I don't recognize you. But you know what? I am energized by this. This is our innovation bench to draw from. We need to have the right mechanisms in place to rapidly bring these capabilities into government, matching your agile development cycles, and we need to be ready to buy an application or an ensemble of algorithms. I am encouraged by NGA's efforts to rapidly bring in these service and application developers. When applied to our unique data stores and missions, and integrated with our unique analytic tradecraft, we create a pretty powerful value proposition for providing greater integrated insights. Second, we need to field artificial intelligence. Get it out of the lab and in the hands of our users. The deluge of data before us, tying up smart military and civilians, staring at video screens and images, demands it. 2 years ago at this symposium, my director for warfighter support, Lieutenant General Jack Shanahan, briefed you on a new effort we were undertaking in defense intelligence, Project Maven. I am pleased to report that in under 2 years, Maven has made steady progress as a pathfinder for AI ML in the department. Most importantly, in under 6 months, from the authority to proceed in June 2017, they delivered a real operational capability to the field, applying AI ML to UAV full motion video. Since then, the team has significantly expanded the capability in scale and scope, expanding the number of geographic locations, number of platforms and data, and intelligence mission areas beyond video. Maven has partnered with over 40 industry leaders, relying on a deep bench of .ai startups, medium and large technology companies, and other non-traditional machine learning providers. It has been integrated into dozens of legacy systems for analyzing imagery and video across combatant commands and the military services. And they're leading the way in accrediting multiple commercial, fit-for-purpose clouds at different classification levels. We have forged a great partnership with the DNI and the AIM initiative and built a strong foundation and lessons learned for the JAIC. It also helps that the general who stood up Maven is now leading the JAIC. I do want to be clear. While getting capability out to users is most important, what has been most significant is what we've learned about what I'll call the AI pipeline. We tend to throw around the term AI quite liberally and make it sound easy. It's not. And I hesitate to even use the term AI. We're at the machine learning stage. It's hard. It has taken a team of dedicated professionals, many coming from outside the building and from non-traditional companies, a lot of brute force and persistence. Frankly, writing algorithms is the easy part. It's everything else that is really hard. It's the data accessibility, finding the data you want to use in the first place. The data preparation, because none of the legacy intelligence sensors in our community were designed to spit out AI-ready data. The data labeling, which is brutally manual and manpower intensive. The quantity and quality of labeled data, as the algorithms and ability of the algorithms to learn are only as good as the labeled data fed to them. The verification and validation of the algorithms, and the security approvals to integrate these algorithms onto our defense systems and networks and to update them on a frequent basis. Maven is now fielded in enough places that we're hitting critical mass. And the next true measure of success will be to see actual changes in our analytic workflows, process efficiencies, and changes in culture. I want to rapidly get beyond machine learning to true AI. We envision a state where all sensors output AI-ready data. All platforms, weapon systems, and networks run AI algorithms. All to provide our analysts and operators with a capability to help them better predict adversaries' future behavior. For advantage in the next conflict, we'll favor the side that can capture, process, anticipate, and act on information faster. Third, we need to focus on the ground which has long played second fiddle to collection platforms. We need a new, more dynamic, integrated model for TPED, tasking, processing, exploitation, and dissemination, if we are to keep pace with the changing threat, operational, and technical environments. As emphasized throughout the National Defense Strategy, we must modernize. Quote, "We cannot expect success fighting tomorrow's conflicts with yesterday's weapons or equipment," end quote. Our GEOINT TPED processes and capabilities are linear, heavily manual, and labor-intensive. They were designed to work for a few satellites and aircraft, not large constellations. Each type of GEOINT-producing platform has its own bespoke tasking and PED system that more often than not is not interoperable with other systems. Today, we're leaving data and potentially valuable intelligence on the cutting room floor because we don't have the manpower and tools to process and analyze it all. Imagine how this gets exacerbated as we transition to those large distributed constellations. We have an opportunity to think much more differently and dynamically about GEOINT. Clearly, AI/ML is a key to addressing the big data challenge, but with large constellations, where there's less competition for limited shutter time and more continuous coverage, there's more room for automated allocation of collection requirements and dynamic retasking of sensors. Experimenting with direct tasking from and direct downlinks to distributed users across the globe. Development of the logic underpinning how we track and maintain custody of targets through GEOINT. Within USDI, we've prioritized Distributed Common Ground and Surface System, DCGS, integration and data sharing. The DCGS family of systems is DoD's flagship capability for providing daily processing, exploitation, analysis, and production of intelligence from DoD ISR platforms. Yet each service has developed stovepiped programs and architectures, linking directly to service-specific airborne platforms and sensors, limiting our ability to provide commanders with joint intelligence products and to more effectively utilize high-demand assets. We're also pressing to make our TPED systems user and sensor agnostic, leveraging open architecture and common data standards. We want to collaborate with industry on this. Our mission is hampered when we have to pay, in time and money, analysts and experts to manually translate data files and technical information to make systems and data interoperable because of proprietary data standards and formats. We also need to think about how we do GEOINT PED in contested environments. Over the last 18 years in Afghanistan and Iraq, we've had the benefit of air superiority, assured comms, reach back for ISR exploitation, and well-protected forward-based operations centers where we can get intel to the tactical edge. I can't make any of these assumptions in a future conflict against a sophisticated adversary who I expect to challenge us in all domains. This is the impetus for our emphasis on resilient, survivable, agile ISR architectures, getting intelligence out to the tactical edge, which may vary based on the contingency, resilient communications capabilities, and DCGS integration. Additionally, we fight in coalitions. Our combined effectiveness depends on shared understanding of threats, shared intelligence, complementary accesses, and capabilities. We need TPED systems that are not only interoperable across our own services, but with our allies and partners as well. And the data we collect and exploit must be releasable. Fourth, we must collectively elevate our focus on security across the GEOINT enterprise. China, in particular, is comprehensively targeting advanced US technologies, including many of which have been discussed and are on display this week, and the people, information, businesses, and research institutions that underpin them. For the companies here, know that China is playing the long game, finding our weak points, and using any means possible, both legal and illegal, to steal our information. Systemic economic espionage, cyber data exfiltration, joint ventures, talent recruitment programs. And it doesn't distinguish between commercial, civil, and military. You are a target. On the business side, upwards of $600 billion annually is the estimated cost to the US economy of stolen intellectual property. The United States' share of global R&D expenditures is steadily decreasing, and we are producing an order of magnitude less STEM graduates than China. These trends are concerning. What's in R&D now, what's being stolen now, is what we'll face on the battlefield in 5 to 10 years. And when we no longer have that technical advantage, our military advantage, and thus our ability to deter war in the first place erodes. Security is no longer optional, but a necessity. Last year, then Deputy Secretary Shanahan stood up the Protecting Critical Technology Task Force, led by a 2-star general, to integrate protection efforts across the department. We are working with Ellen Lord and her acquisition and sustainment team to make security a 4th pillar in defense acquisition, alongside cost, schedule, and performance. We need your help and diligence to better protect our advanced technology. There are immediate steps industry can take. Be cognizant of the threat, and we can help you with that. Exercise basic cyber hygiene, and better understand your subcontractors and supply chains. I would be foolish if I didn't take advantage of this great recruitment opportunity. Who here is part of the Young Professionals group? Oh, I saw Jeff there, okay. I saw the great events this week, from mentoring discussions to networking events. My plea to you, come work for the US government. Come work in the Department of Defense. Come work in intelligence, please. We need talent and we need diversity. I recently testified on the Hill, which I highly recommend you do at least once in your career, on diversity in the intelligence community. On a serious note, it was a great opportunity to reflect on diversity in our ranks. In the simplest of terms, our defense intelligence mission demands a diverse workforce. After all, our job is to understand others, other countries, their cultures, geographies, capabilities, and ways of thinking. So diversity in backgrounds, ethnicity, gender, and in other areas across our ranks and in our thinking is vitally important to our mission success. We are at a pivotal moment in history. Senior statesmen, such as Henry Kissinger, have observed that the United States has not faced a more diverse and complex array of crises since World War II, which is all the more reason why we need your talent, critical thinking and problem solving, and ingenuity to solve the many security challenges we face, whether in GEOINT or other national security disciplines, and whether you serve in government or work with our industry partners. Please, government. On a final note, tomorrow is the 75th anniversary of D-Day. About this time, 75 years ago, around 9:40 a.m. here in San Antonio and 4:40 p.m. in southern England, paratroopers of the American 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions and British 6th Airborne Division were busy making last-minute preparations for their nighttime parachute drops behind enemy lines. At this time, weapons were checked and rechecked. Final letters home were written, and every man rehearsed his role in the operation, mentally going over one more time the photographs and terrain models of his designated assault area. In the final months leading up to the invasion, the German forces had reinforced the areas around Normandy, creating a network of obstructions designed to destroy or significantly limit the effectiveness of airborne operations. Little of this escaped the meticulous Allied planners through countless photo reconnaissance flights flown along the entire coast of France in order to keep the Germans unaware of the true assault location. As a result of these sorties, drop zones and objectives were altered in the weeks leading up to the invasion. However, on the night of the 5th, when General Eisenhower visited the 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment of the 101st Airborne Division at their airfield outside Newberry, estimates of the paratrooper casualties of upwards of 75% were no doubt on his mind as he watched until the last plane disappeared. All of the Allied planners and leadership wondered if the shift to new drop zones over the last month would prevent a disaster. Over 18,000 men parachuted into France during the night of June 5th and into the 6th. The intelligence gathered from imagery and analysis of the German preparations provided a critical advantage to the Allies, allowing the vast majority of the forces to reach the ground and begin assembling. Much is known about the scattering of the paratroopers who assaulted Normandy that night due to poor weather, German ground fire, and aircraft navigational errors. Equally well known is the ingenuity and tenacity of the soldiers who assembled into ad hoc units of LGOPs, or a little group of paratroopers, who then proceeded with their missions and carried out assaults and secured critical junctions and bridges. What is less identifiable in this success is the amazing accuracy of what would become geospatial intelligence that was provided to them prior to the invasion. Officers and NCOs, through hours and hours of studying photographs and highly detailed models, were able to pick out at night in a foreign area roads, streams, rail lines, towns, and terrain to be able to orient themselves and gather forces. The precursor of GEOINT, 75 years ago today, directly enabled the success of the Allied landings in Normandy. We have that same solemn obligation today to our warfighters, as those intelligence analysts and planners did in 1944 to those paratroopers. Just as the imagery intelligence provided a critical advantage to the Allies that consequential night, so too does GEOINT provide us a comparable advantage today, so long as we continue to push the envelope in our design and employment of innovative GEOINT technologies to ensure that, as former Secretary of Defense Mattis would consistently tell us, we never send our service members into a fair fight. So thank you very much. Hope you've had a great week and look forward to your questions and the discussions that follow today. Thank you.
Okay, Kari, thank you very much. That was just a terrific discussion to get us off on the right foot for sure. And thank you for agreeing to take some questions. So we have some from the audience, and I might just start off with one myself. You rightfully mentioned that Project Maven was introduced here 2 years ago, and I know I speak for the audience that it's really refreshing to see progress in such a short time on some really important parts of that program. What in your mind was the main reasons why this capability was fielded so quickly relative to some of the other traditional programs in the Department of Defense?
Let me hit on 2 areas on that. First, I think we had a great team, and a great team that were persistent. What I didn't say is they actually were able to do this in a short amount of time with an existing DFAR policy, which kind of blew my mind, but there is a way to do it. But I think it was a mindset and a culture too, and the department is ready to embrace this agile development activity. There is a recognition that we have to move fast, that these kind of capabilities can't sit in a lab. We can't take 2, 3, 5, 10 years to develop it, wait until it's perfect and get it out to the field. We're starting to bring in some really great software folks, frankly, from the outside, from academia and from industry and from the Valley and other places that know how to do agile software development. And we're bringing those people in to help give us some religion. So I think it's all of those things together that has made this successful. Plus, and I should say, there's an operational imperative. When you have folks out in these geographic locations, a couple of folks in one of these ops centers sitting there staring day after day, hour after hour, staring at a video screen, manually marking things, when they've got a mission to do, and there's a lot of data that they're not seeing, there's an operational mission imperative to get something out to them so that they can do their jobs better.
Okay, terrific. Thank you very much. When you think about, let's see, a new company, you mentioned a number of untraditional companies that many of us have never seen before that we see new each year at GEOINT. What advice would you give an untraditional company that has capabilities to bring to the fight in terms of how they get noticed and how they get into the industrial base here?
I'll be here the rest of the morning, and I'll give you my business card. No, but I have been, the more that I see, again, of the department and the awakening and the renaissance that we're having, there are quite a few efforts to reach out to these small companies. NGA has, I think it's the IGAP program to reach out to small innovative companies. In the Air Force, they're working something similar. You have DIU out in the Valley, and you have Army Futures Command down the road here in Austin. So there is a recognition that you all have a capability, a skill set, and frankly, some fresh thinking that we don't have in the department. And so we are working ways to bring in. Plus, I just say, give us a call, cold call us too, we want to hear from you.
Fair enough. Sometimes the simplest ways are the best. When you examine the new space architecture, space layers coming out of the Space Development Agency, can you comment on how this new architecture will integrate with the IC's space architecture?
I think we're still early, but I'll tell you, I'm excited about some of the ideas that the Space Development Agency, the folks are trying to stand that up, excited about what they're doing. Their whole premise is we've got to get capability up on orbit faster. We have not had the best track record there, so we've got to go faster. And we need to look at these more distributed, diverse, proliferated architectures. I highlighted the one where we're seeing one company produce satellites on the order of days rather than years. So I think there's a lot of, and actually there are several companies that are doing that right now. So there's a great opportunity to take advantage of that. We had I hope, a successful hearing yesterday with our director, for our nominee for director of NRO and the nominee for the director of Space Command, so Dr. Chris Scalise and General John Raymond. There has been a lot of discussion between the two of them, as well as just across both the IC and the DoD, on integration across the board, not just in acquisition, but intelligence support to space operations, Space Command. Frankly, I think of the three things in Space Force: Space Development Agency, Space Force, and Space Command. Of those three efforts, Space Command is probably the most mature and maybe most likely to go forward. We'll see what action Congress takes here, but there is a lot that the intelligence community needs to do to better support, to provide intelligence support to space operations, from supporting a J2 GIOC to foundational military intelligence and targeting information, to the TPED I talked about earlier, is TPEDing some of our space capabilities. So there is a tremendous amount of intel support needed across the board, in addition to acquisition and just developing a cadre, frankly, having a place for Space Force professionals to be able to go, whether it's within the Air Force or other service or to NRO, enriches their overall career experience and development. I think makes them better space officers as we look to bringing that next generation of folks up through the department.
Okay, great, thank you. Forgive me on this next one. The handwriting is a little bit sporty, but let me try to do my best here. It starts with the, first of all, recognition that you commented that, hey, AI is really dependent on the data, right? So we're very glad that you mentioned that, because sometimes we gloss over that part of it. And the question is really about data integrity. And do you have any comments in terms of how do we protect the data integrity of the data that we'll be using in terms of AI and machine learning, and is blockchain a potential technology that could be used there? So I guess it's kind of in the category of maybe counter AI, among other things, right?
So it's a great question, and it's a great issue that we recognize, and we are putting some thought, resources, and talent to. Maybe a couple areas there. Just one is, I mentioned there's a lot of great unclassified data, and there's a lot of great government data that we want some of these small innovative companies to be able to tap into. What we have done in Project Maven is all of that data sits behind a firewall, so that we can keep it protected. So there are things like that we're doing to better assure the information. But also, with these algorithms, I think part of the challenge, and something we're going to have to work on with the private sector here, is we have to have confidence that the algorithms or the applications or services you are providing, that there is, it's output, it's verification, validation, it's outputting what we think it should output, that there's some traceability to the data stores, that we understand a little bit of what's under the hood to give us confidence that that what's coming out at the end of the outside the other end of the black box, is designed to work as it should. And frankly, there's, again, it's really, really nascent, but I think there is this whole area that we need to put a little bit more attention to in terms of GEOINT assurance, the deep fake things that we're seeing out in the commercial world. We are going to have to be just as concerned about that in the department as well, and knowing, for many of you know, it sometimes is not that hard to spoof an AI algorithm, so we're going to have to work through all of those assurance activities.
Okay, great. So I think we have time for one more, and again, apologize if we don't get to your question. We have quite a few coming in. You've had a very distinguished career in multiple parts of government and industry in terms of legislative branch as well as industry and other places. What was your biggest surprise, either pleasant or otherwise, when you came to work in the building? Pentagon, I'm assuming, yeah.
Okay, good news or bad news first? I'll do the bad news first, and then I'll end on the good news. Okay, so the bad news in defense intelligence. Frankly, I was surprised at how manual, labor-intensive a lot of our intelligence processes and capabilities are, which is why I'm so hot on modernization, on things like AI, on innovation, because that is not going to win, or that's not going to deter the next conflict. We are slow. We need to be moving faster. So I think that was really eye-opening for me coming into to defense intelligence. I'll say, kind of the upshot is it's the people, the dedication. I'll just, maybe this is bad news again. I'll comment. We lost an Air Force colonel in our organization last week, had a memorial service for him. He was actually on TDY and was in a freak car accident. But I'll tell you, what the Air Force, what USDI, just what the department did in rallying around him, his family, where people go above and beyond. I've never served in uniform. I wanted to. I got rejected by the Naval Academy, but I wanted to. But it's the service. It's a special thing, and it is. You don't think about it because it's big, but there is a family atmosphere, a unit cohesion, a focus on mission, doing the right thing, and I think that's what I've really loved, not only about the military services, but about the department in general. There is a genuine. These are people committed to national security. A genuine focus on the operations, the mission, getting the job done, and pulling each other up and working as a team to do it. And that's what I've really loved.
Great. What a fitting end to a very, very impactful presentation. Kari, we thank you for your time. We also thank you for your service, and we look forward to many years to come. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Very nice. Really well done. Yeah.